Hello, I'm Chris Stafford, and you're listening to Art, the podcast where we get to know women from around the world of visual arts.
If you don't feel it, I'll make you feel it. I'll show you what I mean. If you don't feel it, I'll make you feel it. I'll bring you to your knees. If you follow me.
My guest this week is sculptor Leah Jeffery, who transforms scrap metal into beautiful pieces of art depicting birds and animals. Leah was born in 2000 in Tampa, Florida, one of 8 children to Suzanne, a homemaker and homeschooler, and Craig, a business consultant. At the age of 6 months, her family moved to Peachtree City in Georgia, where she grew up. Her metalworking shop is in Hogansville, Georgia, where she also works part-time in metal fabrication. As a child, Leah struggled with school as dyslexia challenged her, and she realized that college was not for her. While at school, she learned to weld and was fascinated by the process of being creative with metal, so she decided to go to welding school. It was here that she explored techniques to create art beyond functional welding and realized that she had a talent for multidimensional forms. Leah's business has grown so much that she's planning to go full-time in the new year. She says her commissions have taken off this year, but her goal is to find a balance between exploring and creating new art forms, combining her love of nature. In her spare time, Leah is building her own cob house. She currently lives in Peachtree City, Georgia. Hi, Leah. Welcome to the podcast.
Hey.
Well, it's good to have you on because I've been watching your work on Instagram and fascinated by what you can produce with some scrap metal. And it seems to me that you prefer to do animals and birds. So we'll have to talk about how that got started. But give us an idea of what your day is like now, because you do a lot of sculpting, don't you, almost daily?
Pretty much. Right now, I'm working part-time for a metal fabrication shop. So a few days out of the week, I'll do metal fabrication, which can range from like gates and rails and repair work and anything anybody needs. And then 2 days out of the week, I'm able to do my artwork, and I basically just sit at a little desk and piece the scrap together, and that's basically my day.
Yeah, so where do you get your scrap metal then? Is it a subsidiary really of the business that you're working at? Is you just pick up the scrap metal that you don't use there?
Yeah, I'll get some stuff from there. A lot of cutoffs from like plasma cuts, like little pieces of sheet metal or ends of things. And then I'll get a lot of my like forks and knives at thrift stores. And then I got a lot of all my bike parts from a local bicycle shop. They throw all their scraps into a bucket, and every once in a while I'll go and pick it up. And then I also just things that I find on the side of the roads, bolts and washers and things. And then also people just give me stuff. They're like, oh, I have this broken thing. Do you want it? You know?
So you've become known then as the girl that collects anybody's scrap metal.
Yeah. I get lots of random items. It's fun.
All right, so tell me how this all came about then. Why metal?
Well, in high school, my junior year, I was trying to figure out what I wanted to do, and school wasn't really my strong suit, so I didn't really want to go to college for 4 years and get like some sort of desk job or something like that. So I was trying to figure out, some different routes I could do, and was looking into the trades, and I was thinking about carpentry, and more so actually, but I talked to a welder. He was like our tour guide or something for some place, and he was telling me some stories and stuff, and I thought it sounded like really cool to be able to weld, and like, because it involves fire and everything. And so I signed up for some classes at a college and dual enrolled my senior year in high school. Started doing welding, and I really enjoyed it. Being able to take two pieces of metal and just put them together was pretty cool, in my opinion. And just working with metal, I just really enjoyed it. And as I sort of grew my skills and learned more how to build stuff, I just liked it more and more, because you can basically build anything with metal. There's so much you can do with metal. And then my second year in welding school, I had extra time in class, so I'd got my work done early. So I was just trying to find some different projects that I could kind of work on to develop different skills and just explore what I could do with welding. So I was doing a few different things, and I found someone on social media who did birds out of cutlery, and I thought that was really cool. And so I wanted to give that a try. So my first project that I decided to do was a great horned owl, and I made it, it was probably about 2 feet tall. And so I was like going big for my first project, and I wanted to make huge wings with butter knives and spoons, and then I wanted to have the head turn. And so I spent most of a semester working on that first sculpture. And then once I made that first sculpture, I was like, this is really fun. Like, I enjoyed making this, and a lot of my classmates and my instructors, they thought it was cool. And so I was like, I'll just keep making stuff. So from then on, it's kind of where I like sort of started to go down this route of making sculptures out of scrap metal.
So obviously you weren't daunted by welding and soldering or all of that, which, you know, sparks are flying, literally. That didn't intimidate you at all.
No, I like fire, you know. It's one of the things that drew me to it, you know.
Yeah, that danger element. So when you're starting on a project like that, like a horned owl, which, you know, quite large projects. I've looked at some of your things on the website where it's the birds and animals, which are so gorgeous. And I'm wondering how you get the dimensions of it. You know, do you sketch it out first? How do you start on a project?
Yeah, so I'll usually draw like an outline on my table, and that will be kind of like my reference to kind of keep things proportional. If it's a really large sculpture, I'll try to do like a very basic wireframe just to kind of help me visualize it better.
Well, certainly there's no limit to what you can do now. I can imagine that size and scale you could become more adventurous with over time.
Yeah. Yeah, and with the larger pieces, like I can go larger, but like as I've kind of found that I don't like going too big just because of the material that I work with. I think if I was working with other types of scrap, it'd be different. But since a lot of my scrap metal is kind of smaller, I find that with like making larger pieces, I am just kind of filling space a lot with the pieces. And like, I feel like when it's smaller, like each piece kind of has like more of like a purpose and like adds to it more. But when it's like on a larger scale, I just feel like I'm just filling just sort of blank space, and it's just like too much. But so I try to stay a little bit smaller because then I can focus more on getting the detail in the piece and sort of like giving it more character and focusing on that.
Yes, and you do give it a lot of detail and character. I can see the difference there, because one imagines some scrap metal art can be really, huge, life-size. When you think of public art, for example, they can be really enormous. So I get what you mean about, filling the space, and it's so much more manageable. And I think that attention to detail is part of the fun with what you're doing with animals and birds particularly. But I wonder why did you choose birds, do you think? I know you started with the horned owl and now you're really into them and done some beautiful pieces. Do you have an affinity with nature? Are you a country girl?
I've always liked the outdoors. Most of my childhood, I guess, was outside building forts with my brothers, and so I do like being outside a lot and observing animals because they're pretty cool. But I think the reason why I like to sculpt animals is because to sculpt an animal, you have to kind of capture the life and the personality of it to make it look alive. Because like if you sculpt an inanimate object like a car or something like that, there's not that challenge really of make it looking like it's living, because a car isn't a living thing. And so with an animal, there's that challenge of giving it like a personality and a life. And I think I'm really drawn to like trying to capture that life and like having that challenge.
Do you photograph birds and animals yourself as references?
No, I usually just go online and just like look up pictures or if I see animals, like I observe the animals. Especially I pay way more attention to animals now. Like when I see them, I try to like just sort of observe how they move and their muscles and whatever,
Because you have a sister who is a photographer, don't you?
Yeah, my oldest sister. She does a lot of photography.
So is she a useful reference if you need something photographed?
Yeah, I usually have her take pictures of my pieces because she's very good at photography. So I'll usually have her do that because she's way better than me. I'm trying to get a little better at photography. I got a lot to learn though. Not my area of expertise.
She does light them beautifully, so it really shows them off. But I want to go back to your family, Leah, because you're from a large family. There's 8 of you altogether, right? 8 children.
Yeah, 8 kids.
So obviously large family. You were born in Florida, in Tampa, Florida. Tell us a little bit about your earliest memories as a child growing up there.
Well, I was only in Florida till 6 months, and then we moved here to Georgia. So I don't remember Florida really at all. But we have family down there, so we visit a lot. But I've pretty much lived here in Peachtree City my entire life. And so most of my early memories is just playing outside in the woods. I mean, we don't have like a huge piece of property, but we've got a little bit of woods. And so we were always trying to build forts or just playing out there and doing random stuff, basically.
So were you a typical child then growing up in the country? With so many siblings, did you have those that you preferred to play with?
I mostly played with my brothers, 2 my older ones, then one of my younger ones, because we just all like to build forts. My sisters weren't super into building forts, but yeah, I'd play with them. And then, as some of my brothers got two of my brothers got older. They were too cool to play with me and my little brother. And so it was just us for a while. And it kind of, as time went, it kind of changed with who I played with as my siblings got older and they kind of doing their own thing. And then it was just kind of me and my little brother and my little sister. And we'd be playing.
What kind of things did you enjoy? Was it sports? Was it arts? Were you doing arts as a child?
Yeah, I really enjoyed art. I took drawing and painting classes kind of throughout middle school and high school. So I always enjoyed art. I've never been like super good at like painting, drawing. Like I can paint and I can draw, but it was never something that I'm like, oh, I'm like really good at this. I can make a living out of it. So I really never saw art as like a thing I would do or pursue. And it's like kind of funny. Like it was like step after step. I like slowly got to the point where I was like just doing art. Like it felt like it wasn't even on purpose, really. It just kind of happened.
So what kind of things did you like doing then as a child?
I really liked, I liked building stuff, like building forts, or just trying to make stuff. I never really knew how to do anything, really. But I did spend a lot of time, like at my dad's workbench in the basement, trying to like invent stuff or build stuff. None of my inventions were very successful, and most of my building projects quite failed. But because I had no idea what I was doing. But that was always kind of something that I was interested in, was just creating things, building things. Yeah, just like building things. That was always something that interested me.
And your dad, Craig, you mentioned there, he was a business consultant, but in his spare time, did he like to do woodworking and metalwork and things like that? Did you learn anything from him?
No, so he's all business. So he so he never really he'd fix the odd things here and there. He's more the analytical type guy. So that's why like I never really knew what I was doing growing up trying to build stuff. I just I had the enthusiasm but not the knowledge, or really nobody really in my family were kind of like crafty or like building stuff, like sort of trades work type thing. And so I never quite had anybody to really teach me until I started going to school for welding. And that's where I kind of developed skills and actually learned how to create and build something the right way.
So you said you didn't enjoy school, particularly being a scholar per se. That wasn't for you. You wanted to do something practical right from the start.
Yeah, because I'm pretty dyslexic, so like school wasn't super easy because basically all school is you're either reading or you're writing or you're sitting in a chair listening to someone. And so like I worked at school and tried to do the best I could, but it was really hard for me to do well in school. Like I had to work pretty hard just to sort of get some like decent grades. So like as I was getting towards the end of high school, I was like, I don't really want to start all over with another 4 years of like doing all this stuff that I'm not really good at, because I was like, I don't want to be writing papers and doing all these things that are like such a struggle. I wanted to do something more hands-on, and I wanted to learn a skill. Yeah.
When you decided that you were going to go to welding school, did you have an idea of what the future might look like for you then, and that it might involve some sculpting and artwork, or did you just think of making a living welding?
I was just thinking of just building stuff. At the time, I was like, I think I'll be happy if I just can like build something, just work someplace, just doing welding, just making something. But I did an internship at a place, which was a really good company, and it was a connection through my school, and I had worked there over the summer, and I was like, oh, I can just work here after school in this, because it was a really good company. There was ways to move up, and like it was just like really good. But after working there, for like over the summer, I started to realize like I enjoyed the building aspect, but I needed to use my mind more. Like I needed to create, I needed to problem solve. And in that job, I was just sort of like, you'd put this here, you weld this there, you bolt that on there. You just kind of follow steps. It doesn't require you to use your brain and be like, oh, there's a problem. How do I fix this? Da, da, da. And so through that job, I kind of realized I was like, okay, well, I need to build stuff, but I also need to use my mind. And so that was kind of, so then after that summer is kind of when I started to experiment with sculpting, because I had the extra time in the class. And so I was like, maybe I should kind of try out some art, try out some different things where I'm engaging my mind more. And so then once I started sculpting, I was like, okay, I really enjoy this, because with sculpting, you have to use your mind all the time. You're problem solving all the time. Does this piece go here? Does it look good? Is it shaped right? You're fixing things, modifying things. And so that was kind of one of the things that like led up to me going into art, was sort of realizing that just building stuff like wasn't going to be like enough. Like I needed to engage my mind in what I was doing.
Yeah, because it really is complex, isn't it, when you're working in so many dimensions?
Yeah, because it's and I think that's one of the things is like with 3D, I think I can like understand that so much more than 2D. And I think like, cause like I can draw, like I said, but I never was really great at it, because I think because my like mind can sort of wrap my head around 3D things way more than 2D. Because for me, to draw something, you have to take an object that's 3D and you have to translate it into 2D. But with sculpting, you just take something that's 3D and you just make it 3D. And so I think I can just picture that so much better than trying to like, flatten it, but like make it look 3D, but it's 2D. Like for me, that's like so much more complicated, but I really enjoy, and I think I do much better with 3D, which is kind of interesting because I never really did much 3D work all throughout my art classes. It was just sort of drawing and painting, which is interesting because I think if I explored more of like sculpting, maybe with clay or something, I may have found that I could do 3D work.
Did you ever work in clay, Leah, to help you shape, those three-dimensional images?
The only things I've done is just messed around a few times with clay. I've never really done much with it. I want to do it more just to sort of grow my skills, but it's literally just been like a few times, like with some friends, where we're messing around with clay and trying to do something with it.
Did you have art teachers or mentors at that time who were encouraging you to do the kind of sculpting that you clearly have an aptitude for.
Well, when I started doing the welding, I wasn't doing any art classes at the time. I kind of had finished my art classes, so I didn't really have any real art teachers around. But my high school art teacher, she was really cool though. I really enjoyed her as a teacher because she was kind of like the first art teacher that kind of would let me do like whatever I wanted. Well, in a sense that like if I had an idea and I was like, well, can I do this and that? She'd be like, go for it, you know? And I really enjoyed that about her, because with some of my previous art teachers, they'd be like, no, you're drawing this exactly like this, and you're doing this. You're not adding anything. You're not changing anything. It'd be like, you kind of do the same things. And so once I got her as a art teacher, and I'd like have some idea or be like, oh, can I add a dragon in the corner or something like that? She'd be like, go for it. And I think that was really cool, like to kind of have a teacher who let me explore like different ideas that I had. And so she was always cool. And so I think like having her, it was helpful, I guess. Once I started exploring, just, I don't know if that makes sense, but like just sort of that, like, yeah, go for it, try it. That kind of encouragement, beforehand. Yeah.
Yeah, we all need that, don't we? Just somebody to reassure you that, you can go there and do it and build your own confidence out of that, right? And so just going back to, your formative years then, Leah, and the art that you were looking at, did you have any artists whose work you admired? Did you go to galleries and that? Did your parents take you around to look at art in any way, or is that a journey that you took all on your own?
We'd usually go to the High Museum in Atlanta whenever there was a new exhibit. I always enjoyed going to those. We'd usually go like on homeschool day, and we'd get to do some projects, and then we'd sort of tour the gallery. So there was like, I guess that was kind of the only place that I can think of that we really went, but that was cool.
Right. And were you looking at art and thinking of people whose work you admired? We all find artists that we follow eventually. But was there anyone that might have been like a role model for you? Because you were doing something so special with the sculpting, the metal sculpting at that time.
I mean, I always liked learning about like the different sort of, I guess, classic artists, or I don't know if it's called the classic artists, but like the famous ones, I guess it was Leonardo da Vinci. I think is probably like the coolest guy ever, because he like was inventing stuff and doing all this stuff. And I do like that aspect that it wasn't like he not only did art, but he also was like inventing stuff and creating things, So I guess he's probably like the coolest artist in my opinion, just because he not only does art, but he explores all these different things. Because like I enjoy doing a lot of different things, and so I guess he's kind of like an inspiration, I guess.
Yeah. Now, what about other things? When you say other things, do you mean other art forms? Do you have time for other art forms?
Yeah, I guess, or just like pursuing different interests, or like learning how to do things. I mean, like one of the projects that I've been working on for like over a year now is like I'm trying to build my own house. And so it's stuff like that where or just learning how to make stuff, learning how to knit, or how to make your own soap, or arrowheads. I made my own bow a few weeks ago. Just learning different skills and different crafts that aren't necessarily like artwork, but like are kind of a form of art in a way.
Yes, certainly come under arts and crafts, don't they? They're all interesting and useful. But the idea of building your own house, that's quite some project. That's not just metalwork, Leah. How are you going about that?
Well, it's been a very long process. I don't know how long it's going to take me at this point. But it's a very small house, and I haven't even finished the foundation. But I'm kind of using it. It's kind of like my experimental house to kind of learn like how to do that. So like I had to start off with like clearing all the trees, and then I've peeled a lot of the pine trees to save for using as beams in the roofs, and then digging the trench for the foundation and doing all this stuff. So it's going to be, and it's taken me a lot longer than I initially thought, because I had no kind of idea. And I was like, I could probably build it in a couple years. And I'm like, over a year in, and I'm like, this is not going to take a couple years. But I mean, that's kind of like part of the learning process for me, is like I want to learn like all the steps that it's going to require. I want to learn like how to build a good foundation, doing the and it's going to be a cob house, which is how people used to build houses, or not everybody, but like some people used to build houses, which is like a mixture of the dirt, which is red clay, and sand and hay. And you mix that together and you build the wall like 2 feet thick. So I'm also kind of like experimenting with that aspect of having like an earthen home, like how like that will turn out, and like how efficient will it be, because it does have like a good thermal mass. And so like seeing kind of how that will work, and will it actually be a good house. And so it's kind of like this huge like experiment and learning process that I'm doing with this, and I've enjoyed the process, and it's gonna be a long time, but but I just want to kind of like learn a lot. I've already learned a ton, but I'm gonna learn more, a lot more.
Yeah, that's quite some undertaking. How many square feet is it?
It's pretty small. I don't have the exact. It is also kind of a weird shape because of the way the ground is. But it might be like 150 square feet, but then plus a loft. But I think I'm going to make the loft a whole second floor at this point because it's so tiny.
And that's in Georgia. So is that near your parents' home?
No, it's on someone else's property. They're letting me use it as my kind of experiment.
So your prototype.
Yeah, as my prototype. So I'll build it. Well, my plan is like I'll build it and I'll live in it for a while. And it's gonna be. And I also have to design it for off grid because I'm not gonna spend money to put it on the grid. So that's gonna be a whole nother thing. A whole nother learning curve is like having ways to produce electricity and like having the water. So that's gonna be a whole nother area of learning, which is gonna be fun. But I'll build it. I'll like live in it for a while. And like if things go well and like I enjoy the way things are like set up and like the way like the cop house is, eventually I'd like to get like my own property and build like a regular size house.
Right. Which will have a studio there so you can do your sculpting.
Yeah, I'd like to build my own little shop too in the future because it'd be cool to kind of have my own little space that I can set up however I want.
Yeah, I'm sure that would be ideal. Absolutely. And I mean, you're working right now at the shop where you work, the metal fabrication shop. That's where you're actually doing your sculpting as well.
Yeah, so I've got a little section in there. That's my little studio.
Now, going back to the pieces that you've made, they really are absolutely beautiful. As I said, one of my favorite pieces is the peacock that you've did, and you did that. You told me a while ago now, and it might be a keeper because you it's one of your favorites. So, give us an idea of how many hours you might spend on a piece, from a small piece to a large piece like that, and how you price it, Leah.
Generally, the smaller pieces take between like 10 to 20 hours, and then some of my larger pieces will be between like 40 to 50 hours. And so it's kind of like a big range, but the smaller there are, it usually is a little faster, and the bigger they are, of course, it takes more time to do. And then I kind of price it around kind of a combination between time and the size, but mostly based on time and material. There's like a little, cost for like equipment and stuff like that,
Right. Equipment. Do you have to pay for any of the scrap metal that you acquire?
Only the silverware. So as far as material, there's not much cost there, but as far as like my tools, my equipment, like grinding wheels, gas for my welder, that's where most of the cost is just like in gas and like consumable items like blades and discs and stuff like that. So it's not a huge expense, which is nice.
Well, as all artists know, half of the challenge of being an artist is the marketing, right? All the administration, the marketing, and placing your work. How do you go about that?
Mostly just through social media, primarily Instagram. That's kind of my biggest platform of where I get a lot of attention for my work.
And do you have it in galleries at all, anywhere that we can see it on show?
I've got one piece at Dogwood Gallery in Tyrone, but I don't really have really many pieces that are out there. I'm gonna try to work on that once I go full time with my artwork and I have more time to produce pieces and get them out there. I'm gonna try to work on getting in some galleries and stuff. But yeah, I primarily just sell stuff through social media and Instagram.
And you do get commissions. You're getting more and more of those.
Yeah, I've got a lot of commissions this past year. I've been kind of just backed up with commissions. Like, there's always another one. And I'm still into the next year. I still have at least a few months of commissions to do. So, yeah.
So at what point do you think that you will be going full time then?
Pretty soon. I just kind of got to work it out with my boss, as to kind of like transitioning, because it's a very small shop, so it's just kind of me and him right now. So we're just trying to find someone else to kind of come in and replace me. So we're just kind of working on that. But I'm hoping like the next couple months to go full time, because I'd like to kind of keep up with my commissions, but also have more time to just produce pieces that I want to, and then I can put up on the site. I'm trying to kind of figure out that balance of all that.
Yeah, I was going to ask you that once you become full time, will it would it just be commissions? But you're going to find a balance then of doing things that you want to do as well. So that's a really good balance if you can reach that point. And that gives you more creativity.
Yeah. Yeah. And because there's different things that I want to do. I enjoy commissions. Like, I enjoy kind of working with people and figuring out like what they want. And because, sometimes people have ideas for different animals that I haven't thought of. And so it's cool to work with people. But I also want to explore different ideas that I have or different animals. I want to explore a big thing that I want to pursue is doing interactions between two animals, because pretty much all of my pieces are individual animals, and I'd like to create sculptures where there are two animals interacting, because I think that would add kind of a whole, like, another layer to like kind of like the prey and the predator, or something like that, or like two birds kind of together.
Yes. Oh, you could have so much fun with that, couldn't you? With animals and birds interacting.
Yeah.
So what else for the future then, Leah? What's your long-term goals? Where would you like to see yourself in, say, 10 years?
Well, full time, of course, hopefully that's happening soon. But I just want to kind of grow my skill and just an ability, and also incorporating, different mediums, particularly glass. I'm interested in incorporating that, and just, I guess, mostly just growing my skills, building kind of my little business, and hopefully eventually I'll be able to have my own little shop. I guess like in 10 years I'm hoping to have my own little studio, but I mostly just want to like get better and explore different avenues, and just sort of grow.
What's your family's reaction to what you're doing? What do your parents, Sue and Craig, what do they say about what you're doing as your chosen career now?
They think it's good. My mom says I'm doing what I am meant to do, so they're supportive, But yeah, they're cool. My parents are pretty cool. They've always kind of just let me follow down whatever path, When I was interested in welding, my mom found the school, signed me up. So they've been very supportive throughout my journey.
So they know what to expect for Christmas presents and things, so it's something that you've made.
Yeah. I'll usually try to make some different things for people. I usually make like knives for people. I'm experimenting with blacksmithing. So I do like to make stuff. Generally not sculptures, but metalworking involved.
Yeah. Sounds like a lot of fun. An interesting journey, as you say, because you're constantly evolving and learning new skills, and who knows what you'll be creating in 10 years' time. It sounds like you're having a lot of fun doing it, Leah.
Yeah, I really enjoy it. Like, I like to be able to just get little pieces of junk and like piece them together. It's just, I don't know, it's so fun to me.
Yeah, it sounds like the whole process is. I mean, if I was to ask you where's the most satisfaction for you as a sculptor, it'd probably be the whole process, wouldn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I like the whole journey. I think once the piece starts to kind of look alive, when I get the eyes in and it's kind of positioned where, the head's positioned kind of where I want it, that's where I really enjoy getting to that point, because it starts to kind of like come alive, I guess.
Well, carry on doing what you're doing, Leah, and having all the fun with it. And good luck with the house project as well. We'll have to come back in 10 years' time and see where your second home is.
Yeah, hopefully I'll finish the first one before 10 years.
Absolutely. Well, thank you for being my guest, coming on the podcast this week. It's been fun.
Yeah, thanks for having me. This was good. Yeah.
And be sure to follow Leah on Instagram at Bruised Reed Studio. There's a link in the show notes to that. And also to our Instagram account, which is the Art Podcast. That's art with 2 A's, of course. And we'd love it if you would share the show with anyone you think might enjoy it too, as well as leaving your suggestions for guests on Instagram, or you can email us, as always, at hollowellstudios@gmail.com. Well, we have just a few more guests left for you for this season of the Art Podcast, and they are Hannah Epstein, Amy Erickson, and Hope Hall. So lots to look forward to before we get to 2024. My thanks again to Leah Jeffery and to you for listening. I'll be back next week, so I do hope you'll join me then.